Hi, today I'm going to be looking at and disassembling this HVAC assembly out of a 2019 Chevrolet Bolt EV. The first thing I'm going to do looking at this is, I guess I can give you a full round view. This is the back of the unit for the passengers. These connections here, this is for the AC lines, and this is the heater lines. I'm now going to go ahead and disassemble this into the two halves. They actually split right along the middle here with just 3 screws, and it's very easy to do. With those 3 screws removed, you can also access this little motor right there that you can just disconnect that wire. This leaves you with 2 halves, which are really easy to deal with. They're a lot smaller and lighter than the whole unit. This unit over here contains the blower motor speed control system, and then this small stepper motor that controls the recirculation function. But I'll show you that in a little more detail. And then this side contains all of the air distribution as well as the functions for actually heating and cooling the air as it comes out of the blower system. So first, let's go ahead and focus on the blower motor side. So let's start with this side here. This is the side with the blower motor on the bottom. Now the front right here, this actually interfaces with the firewall in the Bolt EV. And this is where your fresh air inlet is. So your fresh air can come in through the back here. And then on the back, this area here with this kind of cage on it, this is where the recirculated air from the cabin comes in. And that's controlled with this small stepper motor here. So I can show you that as this stepper motor moves open and closed, it will change the flow of that air. And what happens is either the air is coming in through here and then down, or it's coming in through here and then down. That's what this little flap does here. Now also on the back, this is actually something that's user serviceable. This little tab opens up to remove this door, and this reveals this. This is the cabin air filter. So it's very easy to pop this out and put a new one in. And I'm actually going to leave it out for a second, just so that you can see the inner workings of this a little bit better. So you can see here the recirculated air in this mode would come in here and head straight down into your blower motor. And you can see the cage, the actual fan blades down there. Otherwise, if you are in fresh air mode, this closes, letting the air come in this direction, and you can't quite see it. Normally you can see the filter there, but that's where the air would go down, again, into the blower. Now, if you look into the output of the blower motor here, you can see this metal piece here, and this is the fan speed controller for the blower motor. And it has a connector that goes to the fan. It also has this other connector here, which has the input power, but it also has another pin for setting the pulse width modulated fan speed. So that goes right here. And then that's only 2 screws. With 3 additional screws removed on the bottom of this, I can then work to separate This has now separated the upper half of the blower motor. You can see on the upper half, here's where your air comes in to the blower motor, and it just has the one stepper controller right there. And then the bottom half, you have the cage for your blower motor. And this sucks in air, and then it blows it out, and then moves it this direction because it's enclosed. And when your motor controller is sitting there, it actually blows air across the motor controller and acts as a heat sink here. and then this goes out to the rest of the system. Now let's take a look at the other half. This is really where most of the action happens here in this HVAC unit. Now from the other side, this is where our air inlet is. And this air inlet comes in, and you can look in there and see that there's a big radiator. That is actually the evaporator for the air conditioning system. And here is the connection for that. That's through the firewall. So this foam piece actually extends out into the engine bay of the car. I'm now going to remove this piece of plastic here that hides the evaporator coil. I've removed all the screws, but there's additionally one little clip right here. And with that, you can remove this small box. Now at the very bottom of this, there is a little hole, and that is the drain line for your AC evaporator. Normally there's a little bracket that sticks up right here, but I broke it off. And now we can get full access to the evaporator coil, and it slides right out. So you've got one contained unit that has your fittings that go through the firewall, and there's this little foam piece with a hole. I guess this must be used to direct the draining water, the condensation, down into the drain. The next item that I'm going to take a look at is the heater core. So I have removed the little ends that go on here. The heater core has hot coolant that comes in from the coolant heater, and it comes in here, cycles around into this radiator, and then goes back out. It's a very simple heating loop in the Bolt EV. So let me show you how to remove that, because this tends to be an item that does require replacement. Not super frequently, but occasionally. So the first thing you have to do is remove this. And this is the seal that seals the HVAC box against the firewall. With that removed, you can now see there's two screws here, and there's also a third screw back here. And if you remove those three screws, with those three screws removed, you can now take this off. You can then remove the heater core. And so it literally, there's no other screws that hold it into place. You can just pop it out just like that. And here is the full heater core. Set that aside. The next item that I want to take a look at is all of the sensors and electronics that are attached to the side of it. So here on the left side, the driver's side, there are these two temperature sensors. This one's called the upper sensor and the lower sensor. And then on the right side, we have two of these stepper motors. They have the same IDs on them, so they appear to be the exact same part. So you can swap those around. The lower stepper motor here, it controls this flapper here. And this here controls whether the air passes over the heater core or whether it bypasses it. Okay? And then the other one, this other stepper motor, controls all of the mode switch functionality. So if you say, I want defrost, or I want it to blow at the feet versus the face, all of those are controlled by a single stepper motor here. And the way it does it is with all of these little cams and this very complicated little maze plastic piece. And I can show you most of the functionality, but it's a lot easier when it's disassembled. So I will do that in a second. But so I can show you that I can spin this. So if I spin it this one way, this is until it's ending, you can see that the door for the defrost system is fully open. And then this one actually has a little bit open on it, but it's mostly closed. And then the other one, I believe, is also closed. there's a third flap that goes right in this area. So there's 3 flaps that are controlled by the one servo motor. And then as I spin this, you'll notice that the defrost closes, okay? And then your upper vents will open. All right, so you can see that. And at the very end, you can also see that, well, you might not be able to see from there, but if you look down there, you can see this final flap, and it closes, or I should say shifts, right there at the very end. But it's quite impressive to me that they can get all of that functionality out of a single stepper motor right here. Yeah, so there's its full path. You can see that the defrost is closed, and it's open. Yeah. So it's a lot easier, though, to see the functionality of these when you can actually see it in action. It's difficult when it's all completely closed up. So in order to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect these temperature sensors, and then I'm going to remove this half. So these temperature sensors just have a little plug, pop it out. Okay. And there are a lot of screws that go around. And then there's also a couple hidden ones as well. I'm also going to remove these 2 electric motors. I'll give you a closer look at all of the little channels that the little flappers slide in. With those motors out of the way, there are also a couple screws that go way down in here. And I should be able to split these apart now. Oh, you will also need to cut right here. Oh, nope, missed one. And with that out of the way, you can really get a much better look at all of these little flaps that are in here. So this one is for the defrost vents. This one controls whether it goes to the upper. You also have this one. And this one makes it so the vents to the feet are blocked off. So the air is getting blown in from the blower this way, and it always goes across that evaporator core into this sort of a chamber here. And from there, depending on the position of this flap, it either goes through your heater core, if it's up here, goes through your heater core and then to the distribution, or it bypasses it entirely, or it can actually be in any position along the way if the HVAC system determines that it needs to combine those temperatures somehow. So that's what this flap does. And then once it comes through here and it enters this sort of main distribution chamber, that's where your defrost and your upper vents. So this flapper here controls whether the air gets blown to your feet. And so there's 3 paths that it can leave out of here. One goes to the passenger, one goes to the driver's feet, and then this lower channel, it makes its way back to the rear passengers. And then I just wanted to show this. So this is the other side of this. So as I mentioned before, there are 2 temperature sensors that are located on this left side here, and the The temperature sensor here checks to see what the temperature of the air blowing to the occupants' faces are, and then this says the temperature of the occupants' feet. So this way it can control, or at least sense, what those two temperatures are. Lastly, when reassembling this, good luck. It is really complicated to get all of these channels to line up. This channel here, by the way, is removable. It's really difficult to get this channel to align to the channel in here, and then to get all of these to align on this side as well. It's just really complicated to put it back together. I shouldn't say it's complicated, it's just difficult to make it happen. And like I said, this flat piece is also removable. In terms of serviceability, I mean, this is, you can take it down to this level, so in my opinion, it's very serviceable. However, I don't know how many of these components can actually be purchased. So I don't know if you can, for example, go and purchase just this one flap. I have no idea. Although I don't know how frequently you would really need to service this flap. At worst, you might need to replace it because the seal has worn. So again, in my opinion, this whole system is just incredible. It is a feat of technology, if you ask me. I'm not an HVAC engineer, but this is just, it is incredibly impressive to me that they can use one of these stepper motors and control all of the functionality for where that air blows. That is just incredible to me. Thanks for watching. I hope that you found this informative or at least interesting. Also, if you're curious why there's a DeLorean behind me and why I'm taking this apart, well, it is because this is a DeLorean that I converted to an electric vehicle using all of the components from a Chevy Bolt. And this is one of the next projects on that, is to get the AC system working in the DeLorean. So I'm disassembling it so that I can try and make something work inside the car. So if that sounds interesting to you, or if you found this informative, please go ahead, like the video, share it, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, all that good stuff, and thank you for watching.